Here we are.
Let's do it.
So this is a nameless podcast so far. I'm Alex.
I'm Steve.
This is Steve. We are two strength coaches that are just here to talk about training. And this first episode, we're just going to go over kind of our experiences, who we are, how we know each other, and maybe talk a little bit about training too. So, Steve, you want to go first?
Yeah, and even as you said that, I'm like, how exactly did we meet? We met here at Snyder.
Yep.
Both Fort Wayne, Indiana, Snyder High School. That's where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm.
We were in block classes together
We
freshman
were.
year.
Yes, we were. What happened in that block class, man?
Well, we don't have to talk about that, but how did we actually we probably just met at summer gym or knew each other through summer football conditioning.
Yeah, probably.
And then block classes freshman year.
Yeah.
And we were right next to each other in first period. We weren't.
No.
You were in the front.
Yeah.
We weren't next to each other.
Yeah, our teacher, I don't think he liked me, man. Or maybe it was just alphabetical.
I think it was alphabetical. Yeah,
I
because
still don't think he liked me.
I was next to Devin Hubbard.
Okay, yeah, I remember Devin.
I remember it was like alphabetical because I sat right next to Saad.
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, man, I was funny you said that. I was talking to somebody yesterday at the conference, and I was telling them how, at Snyder we've had a lot of middle schoolers that come in and train with summer gym and everything. And that's what I was telling them, that middle school I went to fed into Southside, so I didn't feed into Snyder. So coming to Snyder, I didn't know anybody, at all. And that was one of the nice things about summer gym, because it's you show up, you're all working out together, and that's where I met most of, at least for that first year, most of the people that I knew was through summer gym and playing football. So yeah, it's funny looking back on the stuff that comes out of training for sports that you don't really think of at the beginning. So that's kind of how we met. That was in 2009.
Yeah,
I think 2009. It is 2025. So Steve and I have been good friends ever since. So crazy what sports will bring into your life. In terms of background information, so I guess just real quick. So I went to IPFW, now PFW, got my bachelor's in psychology. I went to Southern Illinois, Edwardsville for my master's, and I interned there. After my 2 years at SIUE, I moved out to Oregon for a couple years, worked for a strength conditioning company out there, and then in 2020, I believe, I got a high school job back here at Garrett High School in Garrett, Indiana, and that kind of led me into the position here at Snyder, which this is my 4th year at Snyder. So that's kind of just my background, a condensed version of how I got to where we're at now.
Did you get hired at Garrett before or after COVID?
It was after.
Okay.
Yeah, it was after. So I think it was because I started at Garrett in the middle of the school year. I got hired at Christmas break.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so it was I want to say it was December. I think it was January of 2021.
Yeah, that
is
makes
when
sense.
I started.
That makes
and
sense.
I was there for a semester, which sucks. Sorry, railroaders. Some good kids out there, but I got this opportunity and I really couldn't pass it up. So that's kind of how it's kind of how I got to where I'm at right now. How about you, Steve?
I went to IU, Indiana University, for undergrad, exercise science. Worked with the football team for 4 years while I was there as an equipment manager. Then master's degree at Illinois State University, so from one Bloomington to the next. Exercise physiology there. Got my first strength conditioning job down in Miami, Florida at Bomarito Performance for Pete Bomarito. And then got hired, really thanks to Alex, I got hired at PSM, Parkview Sports Medicine in Fort Wayne, and that's where I'm at now, private sector. Again, condensed version, but I didn't even think about you are the person that introduced me to Scott.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it is kind of crazy looking back on.
Yeah.
Are you glad you went that route?
Yeah.
Because I know you were kind of back and forth on what you wanted to do when you got back in.
Yeah. Originally, and you already knew this, but wanted to open up my own thing, just do my own thing. I mean, we talked about like doing it out of a garage and just
Yeah.
getting like basic equipment, squat rack, barbell, adjustable dumbbells, ropes, like just
Yeah.
basics, bands. And Parkview Sports Medicine at the time was looking for someone to help with one of the colleges.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I could do that, have like some guaranteed income, and then open up our thing. And yeah, really just talking with Scott over time, it was like, man, this makes sense. And it's really worked out. It's
Yeah, it
worked
really
out well
has.
for what they kind of allow and even encourage me to do.
Yeah, I think looking back on it, I think because that was, I know that was a big decision for you, because that's something you planned on for a while to kind of, start up your own thing. But looking back on it, I think it worked out really well because, like you said, Scott's awesome and is a great boss and gives us in different aspects, in different ways, but lets us do our thing. You know what I mean? And yeah, I think it's just been cool to see the support that PSM has given you to help you kind of more or less. You're still, there's aspects of what you do, which we'll talk about later in different episodes, but still kind of doing your own thing. You're making your own way and doing things in Fort Wayne that haven't been done before. And, I think PSM has been a supporter of that, which is awesome. Because a lot of times, especially in strength conditioning, I feel like a lot of times you know, some private sectors might kind of shy away from that. But yeah, I think in the long run, I think it's worked out, at least for the time being.
I think it has, and I think it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess to talk a little bit about just kind of like our everyday, right? So working at a high school, so we have classes throughout the day. It's 7 periods total, but we have a planned period. So we have six classes. We have 4 periods that are athlete only classes. So you have to play some type of sport to be able to get into that class. So those are our first 4 periods, and then our last 2 periods are non-athlete classes, which you don't have to play a sport. Anybody that's interested in working out can get into those classes. And then we have our after-school stuff too. We have teams that schedule with us after school. And so this obviously is the weight room. Can't really see the full thing, but we are very fortunate that we have the weight room that we do. It looked a little different when we were here.
Yeah.
Just a little bit, but we have 10 double-sided racks in here, so 20 total racks. And on our busy days, I mean, we'll have 100 kids in here. In the summer, we'll have even more. But during the school year, that's how it's ran. And then in the summer, we do like summer training and stuff like that. But I don't know. For me, the job is nice because I see the same kids every day, and it's makes it easy to build a relationship with them and get to know them and kind of figure out the best way to communicate with them, which is really all coaching comes down to is communication at the end of the day. So the high school setting, I think is perfect for me. And I'm just fortunate to be at Snyder where I went to school. I still work with a lot of the coaches that were coaches when I was here. So I already have a relationship built up with them and kind of understand, their viewpoints on things and what's important to them. So that's kind of like my day to day.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And mine is completely different. So I only coach in the afternoons. Sometimes I might coach till 9 o'clock at night. I gotta do programming and cleaning. Yeah, I don't coach until 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Typically, I coach from 4 to 7 p.m. I might do there's personal training stuff like with different athletes, one-on-one, different times of the day. But as far as coaching, I coach primarily 3 hours a day. Different times a year, maybe it's till 8. I typically don't end up coaching much later than that. Again, different times of the year might be an all-day thing for NFL draft prep training, but typically it's 4 to 7. There is some things private sector side, like keeping up with parents and doing a lot of the business side online and stuff like that takes place as well. But from a coaching standpoint, it's a lot shorter days than what most people do.
What about teaching, man? You teach a couple classes.
I teach at Indiana Tech. I teach motor learning and practicum to strength conditioning. I think of it as motor learning. I don't think I've ever explained this like this to you. Motor learning is like my wife. Like I really enjoy it. There's so much room to grow. It's such like a long-term thing. Like I can continue to learn. Motor learning's been huge for me just to learn.
Yeah.
It's been awesome. I love it. I want to do that as long as I can until Dr. Anderson fires me. Practicum strength conditioning is like, it's like a mistress. Because
It's a side chick.
It is because it's, I've told Scott, I was like, I feel like I'm cheating on my job.
Yeah.
Because it's in a weight room. It's like we show up to a class in this setting, and I teach college students who want to be strength coaches or physical therapists how to exercise.
Yeah.
And we spent an hour and a half the other day going through the squat.
Yeah.
We did an hour the other day just doing bench press and like all the little technical things. And it's easy and fun. And so, yeah, kind of like mistress.
Yeah. That would be kind of fun though.
Yeah.
Especially with like with college students, you know.
Yeah.
Like I think back to when I was in college, that would have been a helpful class.
Yeah.
You know, just especially learning from someone who's in the field. Because I feel like a lot of times, you know, in college, sometimes the people that you learn from are not in the field, you know, and they not to say they haven't been in the field before, but that would have been, I feel like that would have been helpful for me and it's cool because I feel like it just kind of refreshes you on, you know, teaching the movements and especially the basic movements that maybe you don't teach quite as much
Yeah.
compared to some of the other stuff you do too. So yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So teaching private sector, that's about it.
I think that
Yeah.
sums it up. Both wrote some articles and
Yeah.
social media, but
Yep.
day job stuff, that's it.
Yeah, that pretty much covers it, man. It's a good position to be in, you know, at least for me, like in the high school setting. It's good just to see, you know, and you can relate to it too, but just seeing kids every day, like they keep you young, and kids are crazy nowadays, you know, they really are. But they do keep you on your toes and keep you there's something's going on every day, you know what I mean? So that's good. So that's our just background, how we know each other, kind of what our day-to-day looks like. And then from here, I guess we can just talk about, we have some topics here that we've put together. Just the first one of, I forget exactly how I said it here, but just something to kind of like bounce around. So looking back when we were like younger athletes, right? I guess let's start there. When you were young, what sports did you play?
Sure. Yeah. College didn't play sports. I'm working backwards. College didn't play sports. Wasn't good enough. High school only played football. Middle school only played football. Didn't even try other sports. In elementary school, I think I played basketball. I remember walking out of practice one day, like I just quit. I wasn't playing.
Basketball practice?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mr. Sweet was the basketball coach. Yeah, I just remember like I wasn't getting in
Said,
practice.
"I'm outta here."
And I just left.
Yeah.
As like a 4th or 5th grader. So yeah, I growing up really only played football, and I played a bunch of basketball with friends, but no organized basketball.
I gotcha. Yeah, I definitely didn't play in college either. High school only played football, so very similar to Steve. Middle school, the middle school I went to was a Magnets art school. Okay, so we did not have a football team. We had soccer, basketball. That's all I remember. I'm sure I think we had a swim team.
You didn't play basketball, did you?
No.
Okay, I
No,
was
I
like-
kind of wish I did. I remember, what was his name? Mr. Helmke. He was a PE teacher, Mr. Helmke. 6th grade, he asked me if I wanted to play basketball because I was kind of like an early bloomer. You know, I was bigger than most kids in 6th grade. He asked me if I wanted to play basketball, and I turned him down. I kind of wish I would have, though, because that would have been fun.
Yeah.
But middle school, I've tried to explain this to people, and people don't get it.
Yeah.
But, man, where I went to middle school, Memorial Park, if you were a cool kid, you were in the band, right? And it sounds crazy. Not to say there's not cool kids in band. So there definitely are. We got a few of them in class. But yeah, man, if you were in band, like you were a cool kid. So my 3 years in middle school, I was in jazz band, I was in normal band. We had a combo. Um, we would like record CDs and shit at the end of each year. So
Yeah.
it was pretty dope. It actually was looking back on it, and we've talked about this. This isn't strength conditioning related at all, but like those 3 years of like being immersed in music and playing a ton of music. I played the trumpet. Um, really like made an impact on just like my relationship with music. Like man, when I'm at home, like I always got something playing. Like even if it's just in the background, even if I'm not even listening to it. But like I listen to a lot of music, and music has had a good impact on my life. So those 3 years in middle school, I didn't play any sports. So I got a little chubby. I remember I tried out for the soccer team, 8th grade year. Mr. Roberts, that was my boy too. It broke my heart, man. I was like one of the last two people to get cut from the team. And Mr. Roberts, I'm not related to him. I'm sure I am, but not, I don't know how I am. And he was the head coach, and yeah, he cut me, man. And yeah, it broke my heart. Not really. I remember going out to soccer, like tryouts. We would like run a lap for a warm up. It killed me, bro. It killed me because I didn't do any. Hadn't done any really physical activity outside of just like playing with friends in like gym class.
Do you think something like that is like kind of, I don't know, like the igniter that kind of got you down the strength conditioning path, or was it something else later?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it was, and not necessarily getting cut from the team.
Yeah.
That really didn't, because really I tried out. You remember Yaza?
Yep.
Me, Yaza. I think Joel. I want to say I can't remember Joel. I'm sorry. I can't remember Joel try. I think Joel did try out with us, but we were just like trying out just for like as friends, just see if we could make it. It got to the point where like we made it a lot further than we thought we would. So then at the end of it, getting cut was like, oh, that does kind of suck. But I didn't try out to expect to make it. But I don't know if that necessarily had an impact on me in terms of like choosing strength and conditioning. But it definitely did my 3 years at Memorial Park. I remember leaving Memorial Park and going into high school. Coming to Snyder, I knew I did not want to be in the band, and I wanted to like play a sport. And I remember telling the Miss Sefcovic, who's awesome. Miss Sefcovic, I know you're not going to hear this, but she spent decades at Memorial Park building up the band program and like really did it right. But I remember telling her that I was going to play football in high school and not play music, not play trumpet. And I was like, I say this in the most humblest way possible, but like trumpet, like I was pretty good, you know what I mean? And I didn't practice at all. It's like one of those things, like sometimes shit just comes to you, you know? Like we know athletes that are like, that are just freak athletes. Like I wasn't a freak trumpet player, but like I could pick the stuff up, and like, again, I didn't practice. My dad played trumpet when he was younger. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but like, I was pretty good at trumpet without really giving any effort at all. So I remember when I told Miss Evkovic, like, yeah, I'm gonna, I don't think I'm gonna, continue to play trumpet in high school. Like, I think I want to play football. And I remember she was pissed, like, just pissed. And I remember her telling me, like, she was like, you seen the guys that play football? Like, those guys are huge. And I was like, again, I was an early bloomer. So I was like, at that point, I wasn't bigger than everybody, but I was still like, I was probably 5'10", 5'11" in 8th grade, and I was like, yeah, man, like that's not going to be any problem. It was definitely a problem it was definitely a problem, bro. Not playing sports or not playing football in middle school those 3 years, missing out on those 3 years, like set me so far back in terms of compared to, other kids that have been playing for, 5, 6, 7+ years. So that's just interesting looking back on, but that's kind of, I miss that those are some formative years too in middle school. You know what I mean? Like just in terms of like motor development and like building up strength and like your aerobic base and like all that stuff. Like, man, missing those 3 years really set me back for sure. Which is interesting looking back on. But to get back to the original question, before middle school, I I played soccer for like 4 years. Like when I was in elementary school, I played Wildcat for a couple years, baseball. Um, and I think that's it. Soccer really was like I wish I would have continued to play soccer through middle school. I played, I think, up until 5th grade. But honestly, and this is soft as hell of me, but honestly, when I got to the grade of soccer, because I played goalie, I was a goalie. When I got to the grade of soccer where they opened the nets up, where they made them, because when I was playing soccer, the nets were like I could go here,
Yeah.
and, touch both
And
sides.
you were bigger.
Yeah, exactly. And like I was like, I was feeling myself out there.
Yeah.
And then when I saw like the full size goalie nets, like
Yeah.
next year you're moving up to those, like, yeah, I was like, I don't think so, man. Which honestly was soft as hell of me. But that's kind of what led me out of soccer until my 8th grade year. Mr. Roberts cut me. But yeah, those, I mean, really between when I was younger, soccer and baseball, and then football, getting into football in high school, those are really like the sports that I played when I was younger. So kind of similar to you, where it's, main part, at least especially when we were older, it was just football. And so I guess the question is, like, looking back on, your childhood and now, like, being very experienced in strength conditioning and athletic performance, like, what do you wish you would have done differently, or what sports do you wish you would have played, or what sports do you wish your parents would have put you into, like, at a younger age,
And one, the parent thing just reminded me, the one I wish I would have done the most, that we've talked about a lot, is the one my dad really wanted me to do, and that's wrestling.
Yeah.
I was actually talking with my girlfriend the other day. She asked me like any regrets, her biggest regrets growing up, and then she was going to answer as well, and I knew hers was going to be like a deeper thing and like the biggest regret in my life, which is, it sounds like overemphasized, but I don't think I really have a ton of regrets from life.
Yeah.
But it's like, man, I wish I would have wrestled.
Yeah.
I wish I would have wrestled in high school. Not saying I would have been very good.
Yeah.
I might have been, but I don't feel that way necessarily. But just like what comes from it.
Sure.
And what you can learn about yourself while doing that. I really wish I would have wrestled. I wish at an earlier age I did some sort of like track and field, sprinting, but that's obviously like my bias now. Like really love sprinting and jumping and explosive short duration movements.
Sure.
Again, not to say that I'm good at them, but it's just like something that really intrigues me. So I wish I would have done something like that.
Yeah, that'd have been good. I feel like both of those are like, again, there's such a benefit to starting something at a young age. Obviously, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be physical or not. But like physically, it's like, man, just learning those skills, especially, like I think of wrestling a lot, just with doing jiu-jitsu. It's like, like there's people that have been just grappling since they were 5 or 6. And, they just have, it's just ingrained in them.
Yeah.
Like it's just something that they could not do for 2-3 years and come back and, give them a week or two and they're like right back into it, So wrestling is a good one. That's one that I definitely think is a good sport to start at a young age. And I think the people that have the most success, obviously, I talked to some of the wrestlers here, and it's like wrestlers that start wrestling in high school, are rarely good enough to, win a state championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not saying it doesn't happen, because it definitely does. But a lot of times when you get down to like competing at like the semi-state and the state level, like you're running into kids that have been doing that for, they're 15, 16, 17 years old. They've been doing it for 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So
especially in this area.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking state, but like this area of the country.
Yeah.
Midwest, it's colder, you're indoors.
For sure.
Yeah.
It makes me think of like, I don't know if we've talked about this, but like Jeff Heaton, know Jeff.
Yeah.
So I saw him or maybe it was his wife, but put something up on, I think it was Facebook, just about, they've got, I'm not sure how many sons, maybe 2 or 3. They got children, and at least one of them's a son who is like a pretty good wrestler. Like he won. Now he's young. I don't know how old he is, but maybe 6 or 7. But I saw them put something up about him winning like a pretty big tournament at that age. My first thought was like, man, I hope he sends him to Snyder. That'd be dope for him to come here. But secondly, it's like, yeah, man, like you learn that at a young age, like, man, it goes a long way, man. It really does. And like you said, not to spend too much time on wrestling, but it's also, you can learn a lot about just who you are and how to do difficult things, through the sport of wrestling. So I would second wrestling. Another one that I would add, like that I wish I would have done when I was younger, or I wish my parents would have put me into, it's kind of similar to wrestling, is gymnastics, though.
Gymnastics is a good one.
Gymnastics would be man, again, it just goes back to learning like your body, like body awareness, like how to move, how to do different movements, how to, obviously you get super strong doing gymnastics too. So that's always one that, I've always thought like, man, it would have been nice to like do gymnastics for a couple years when I was younger, just to teach that. And so wrestling, gymnastics, and then honestly, like, yeah, part of me wishes I would have kept with soccer, because soccer, I did enjoy playing soccer. And I was decent. As good as an average athletic kid can be.
And a small goal.
Yeah, and a small goal. Yeah, I was killing those small goals, man. But yeah, those are probably the three that I would either wish I would have done or continue to do. So, anything else, man, in that topic?
No.
I don't think so, man. So I think, man, for F1, man, I think this is decent, we're going to continue to, hopefully we can try to do this, weekly, at least sit down and talk for 30-ish, minutes, and kind of see where it goes. And we'll have more stuff in the future too that we're working on, but at least with this, with the traditional podcast setting, it's just something that we wanted to do, like talking about it, like, I rarely am able to sit down with Steve and talk training with him. We used to live together a couple of years ago, and that was obviously a lot different. Like we could talk really any time that we wanted to, but a little different now. And so it's just something that gives us the ability to sit down and talk back and forth with training, and then also it just helps us be a little bit more consistent with trying to put out some type of content. We have, obviously, as we mentioned earlier, we have other ideas of kind of different types of content that we're trying to do as well, which we will do. But for the time being, this will be a little bit more consistent, and we're just kind of feeling it out. So we got to figure out a name first. We'll talk about that and then kind of get back into it. But hopefully we can do something, next week sometime and see if we can try to be a little bit more consistent with doing something that's, a little bit less edited and just more raw, just two friends sitting and talking about training and stuff. So anything before we go, man?
No, I think that's
all right.
Good.
We'll see y'all next week.
Boom.
Boom.